this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super, Future Trunks has a goofy and heartwarming reunion with Gohan, and Beerus, Whis, and Goku head to Universe 10 to figure out the true identity of Goku Black. This was a downright pleasant episode of Dragon Ball Super, with Future Trunks being reintroduced to Gohan. It might as well be the third version of Gohan that he's met at this point, as his personalities are completely different. I'm talking about the Gohan from the future who was killed. There is Teen Gohan, who went up against Cell, the ultimate little badass that we always remember, and then there is the current version of Gohan, the scholarly family man and run-of-the-mill superhero, the Great Saiyaman. I have to say, Future Trunks' reaction to seeing Gohan transform into Great Saiyaman and playing with his daughter Pan was really funny, especially when Gohan went through the transformation. There's this small little pause, and you can just see Trunks is just like, what the hell is going on? Future Trunks meeting this version of Gohan is a really interesting thing because it's very conflicting for Trunks. Of course, he's expecting to see the master who taught him everything, but instead, he's seeing this version of Gohan he couldn't even think could possibly exist. A Gohan who likes to smile, a Gohan who is happy. And this ends up rocking Trunks at his core, reminding himself that if he'd have stopped Black, there could have been a future just like this. Trunks could have had his very own family. These could have been the results of it, and it's heartbreaking to see him break down when seeing these events, while all at the same time having to be somewhat happy over the fact that this version of Gohan is having a pretty good life. Not to mention, Pan is stupid strong in this episode. There's this fantastic scene where Pan and Mr. Satan are cooking dinner and Gohan is busy, so Trunks has to lick over Pan for a second, and basically she just starts beating the crap out of him and trying to steal his sword, and Trunks is having a really hard time with getting his sword back, either because A, he's holding back and he doesn't want to hurt a baby, or B, Pan is freaking super powerful. I'm guessing that in this version of Dragon Ball Super, not counting all the stuff that happens in GT, Pan is going to be one hell of a threat in the future, and I can't wait to see what she's going to change into. I mean, remember the episode where she took the Pilaf gang into space? Yeah, that was your first clue. This is the second one right here. Pan is the second coming of badassery. There's also a few other little small moments, like when Trunks is reintroduced to Mr. Satan. Mr. Satan's such a great character. I used to hate him before, but he's really grown on me at this point, especially because they don't use him too often, but when they do, it's really funny. Being the vain person that he is, he's constantly showing Trunks all of these videos of how cool he is, how when he took down those aliens a couple of episodes ago. Speaking of a couple episodes ago, you know what's really convenient? You remember a couple episodes ago when Bulma was working on that weird machine which was creating that weird freaky blue substance that Monaka was collecting? Well, apparently that's the fuel for the time machine. In the present timeline, she's only going to need 1 day to produce an entire vial of this stuff, so it looks like we're going to be going to the future pretty damn soon. So that's really awesome. One of the funnier elements of this episode, though, for me personally, is the fact that the present timeline Trunks is constantly having to compete with the coolness of Future Trunks, trying to win the love of Mai, trying to look all cool and useful in front of her, even going as far as to finding a saw and brandishing it as a sword. He just comes across as really doofy and trying really hard, and it just keeps reminding me that the future version of Trunks is infinitely more cooler and a much better character. Yet, I'm really interested to see how this present timeline Trunks is going to evolve now knowing the knowledge of Future Trunks and what's eventually going to become of him and Mai. It's a pretty funny and ridiculous prospect, but the most important part of this episode, my friends, is at the very end, you have Beerus, Whis, and Goku, and they're traveling through the space-time continuum, and they're heading to Universe 10. Yes, Universe 10, an entirely separate universe which isn't connected to Universe 7 at all. Apparently this is where Black is from, or at least they know someone in that universe who has the same key as Black. And it's going to be that green Kaioshin by the name of Zamasu, and we're gonna figure out what his deal is in the next episode of Dragon Ball Super. It even looks like Goku is going to have a sparring match with him, and apparently this guy is some sort of fighting prodigy, so I cannot wait to see what his deal is, what his whole backstory is, and how he's going to be tied to Black. The hype is real! So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? This was a surprisingly pleasant episode. Going into this one, I didn't think that I was going to like it. I just thought it was going to be too damn slow. But honestly, I loved seeing Future Trunks' reaction to Gohan and his family. It was heartbreaking because he just wanted a future just like that. While all at the same time, it's pumped him up. He is ready to go to the future and kick Black's ass. Although with Goku and Vegeta around, I'm not sure if he's even going to be needed. Especially Vegeta, who goes through this really kick-ass training sequence at the beginning of the episode where he's fighting against these drones and robots. And I love the fluidity of the animation here. Let's incorporate that into some of the future fight scenes. The way he's just sort of dodging and attacking. I love when those two robots show up behind him and he blasts them just like that. Just, damn. That was a satisfying sequence. Not to mention, we just had a lot of really great comedy and heartfelt moments in this episode. Not to mention, we're also advancing the story at the very end with this brand new Kaioshin character. This was kind of like a full package, getting you ready for the next arc kind of episode of Dragon Ball Super, and I really loved it. There were a lot of really great, memorable moments. Not every single episode of Dragon Ball Super needs to be a big, badass action fest to be awesome. Now, that being said, this was not a perfect episode. Some of the pacing was a little slow in some areas, and of course, some of the animation and artwork looked a little sloppy. But still, I enjoyed this one a lot right here. I'm so hyped up to see what's going to be going on with this Zamasu character, who in the preview, they mentioned that he's a fighting prodigy, but I'm wondering why that is. Like, I want to know why he's so interested in martial arts. There's clearly another Kaioshin there with him who is yellow. Just, there's so much interesting stuff getting ready to happen with their backstory. The fact that they're in Universe 10 leads me to believe that there is a possibility that Future Trunks is from another universe altogether, possibly. Maybe there is the small possibility that his future exists in Universe 10. It's the only thing I can really think of at the moment, but I'm interested to see how this is all going to tie together, because why would a being from Universe 10 show up in Future Trunks' timeline? Like, it's just so strange. Maybe it has something to do with those rings of time, which apparently are also going to have some relevance in the next episode as well. If you look at the preview, there's just so much mysterious things going on here, and that's what I really love about this episode of Dragon Ball Super. That and just all of the collective little small moments of this episode were really damn great, and all the moments with Pan were really funny. One of the cutest anime babies that I've ever seen, and apparently freaking destructive as well. I can't wait to see when they're going to allow her to fight. We're probably going to have to go through a big time skip before we go there, of course, because she's just a toddler, but still, all those moments with her and Trunks was really, really funny in this episode, and if anything, you get to see the return of the great Saiyaman. You either love or hate this character. Personally, I think Saiyaman's freaking awesome. What I will say is, I loved this episode right here. It was a classic episode of Dragon Ball Super, and if you're a fan of the series, you should definitely check it out. Like I said, it did have some minor flaws, but it didn't bring the episode down too much. In fact, I'm going to give this week's episode right here a 4 out of 5, a super solid episode of Dragon Ball Super. If any of you did watch this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Did you like all of the scenes with Future Trunks and Gohan? What are your theories on the character of Zamasu, the Kaioshin from Universe 10? How is he connected to Goku Black? And what do you want to see from the future of Dragon Ball Super? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you for sticking around this long, I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, share this video with others, and leave me your comments in the comments section below. Make sure to also use your instant transmission and go down to that like button. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.